like most things, if you ignore them, they just go away. So back to it. Welcome to the Development Permit Panel. Yeah, we are live streaming. I'm going to introduce the panel. So we have two members here and one participating remotely. So I'm going to just introduce the remote participant first. It's John Irving. And John is our General Manager of Engineering and Public Works. And so I'm just going to keep going, guys, while you try to figure it out. So in person in the chamber today, we have to my right Cecilia Asham, our General Manager of Community Safety, and my name is Joe Urseg. I'm the General Manager of Planning and Development. So the job of the panel is to review projects for design, form and character, and to make a recommendation to Council. And we've got 4 applications on the agenda today. And okay, as long as we don't do anything, it's good. So the first thing we have in terms of the agenda is some minutes from a meeting held on July the 29th to adopt those. If there are any additions or deletions. So seeing none.
So moved.
Okay. Moved, seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favour? It's carried. So they're adopted. So that brings us to the first application. It's a general compliance application for a project in the Hamilton area of the City of Richmond. It's located at 23111 Garapi Avenue. And my understanding is that there have been some issues with the landscaping on this site and some revisions are to be considered. So the applicant, who's up for this one today? Okay, come on down, sir. So typically we'd hear a short presentation from you or some brief comments from you, and then we may have some questions for you. Okay. And if you can start by just telling us your name and address for the record.
Okay. My name is Travis Martin with my address is 20 West 12th Avenue. And thank you for having us here today. I'm Travis Martin with Vanderzon Associates, representing the client for Hamilton Village Care Center. And we're here to walk you through a few changes that have happened to the landscape over the course of development. The project is currently up and running. It opened in April. And so it's been going well. The landscape is nearly complete with works being completed on Westminster Highway and on the surrounding landscape of the project. I have a PDF up here showing the approved DP from 2018. And so this is a rendered site plan. If you look at it, you'll see the landscape around the north is all new ESA land, as well as the landscape around the west. And I'll just walk you through a few different items that have changed. Hopefully it'll be a clear presentation. So after the project was approved, some work continued on Westminster Highway, and that led to the roadway and the property line being raised by approximately 1 meter. And so that was something that wasn't considered during our original project development. The first item I'd like to note is item number 2, which is called New Wall on the northwest of the site. We were committed to protecting 3 trees. 2 of them are these 2 hovering over, and the third is tree number 85, item number 3. As a result of the grade changes, we extended a wall on the property, protecting it from the grade change rising up to ensure undisturbed land around these 2 protected trees. That was the first change that we made during construction. The second change was we were challenged to protect tree 865 that's right near the property line due to grade changes and ultimately some excavation works that shouldn't have taken place. And so as a result, we have compensated by adding 2 cedar trees and replacing the associated landscape ESA plants around it.
So how big was that tree that you were supposed to keep? 30? How old was it?
I don't know for sure.
Take a shot.
Approximately, I would guess, 20 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, as a result of the roots were ultimately cut and it became a hazard tree, and so we had to remove it.
And why did that happen?
The telecommunication lines were cut into the root zone along the property line.
So a contractor went in. What,
Yeah.
Did it not have protection fencing standard requirements?
It did. It's complicated to go in.
So someone messed up? Is that what you're saying?
Ultimately, we may not have chosen to protect the tree had we realized the situation of the road rising around.
But you did.
Right.
But you did, and it was a requirement of your approval.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that this was an accident, or are you telling me that you had a change of heart and decided to damage the tree?
We never intended to damage the tree.
Okay.
These events that happened on site, that was beyond our control at the time, and so.
And why were they beyond your control?
Well, they happened outside of our purview, so it was.
I'm not following, sir. It was your contractor, right?
Yes, our contractor.
Okay. So you're responsible for your contractor.
Yeah.
And you have obligations to the city once you commit to protect something.
We understand that.
Okay.
All right, I'll walk through the next event. The fourth item is the relocation of a PMT. Originally, we proposed it to be in this southeast corner in the garage area, and that was originally going to be approved with BC Hydro, but later on in the process, it was deemed it had to be off slab and on Westminster Highway. So as a result, we moved it to the Westminster Highway location, and that offset some of the ESA planting in an area that was already cut by the egress pathway, and so the ESA planting was ultimately shifted down on the south side of the site to compensate for the same amount of planting. The sixth change was the planted island. We have a planted island between our turn roundabout and parallel parking, but the city requested that we change it to hardscape in order to facilitate a crosswalk to the Oris development. So, and finally, item 7, we early on in the DP process, the landscape plan had a little fence to enclose what would be garbage containers that would sit out the side. That wasn't fully coordinated, and it wasn't intended by the project to remain, but it did make it through on the DP approved drawing. Since the project's been open, the private contractor being used doesn't have a use for that. The bins are stored in the garage just above this, and then moved out very briefly. And we see this as a positive element as it reduces, lost sight lines. It encourages the development not to keep garbage outside, and ultimately, reduces risk of damage and things like that from trucks that are moving around that area. So just to follow up, we've extended the wall as shown in the yellow to protect the root zone around the 2 north trees. As a result of the lost tree number 865, we replaced it with 3.5 meter cedar trees and associated ESA planting to match the ESA area. We installed a PMT along Westminster Highway, and there was already in a break between the 2 ESA zones. We felt that was the most appropriate location so we could maintain larger environmental areas. And we extended it to the south as shown. This area has been surveyed and also needs to be adopted as a new official survey for the site. And we paved a triangular space to facilitate a crosswalk and have removed a small enclosure as it is not needed for the current waste removal site.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see if we have any questions for you. John, any questions? Cecilia?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah. If you could just go back to the tree that was, I guess, accidentally removed, and you're proposing to replace that with two trees, as I read it, they're the same species, Western red cedar?
Yeah.
And I guess along the lines of the chair's questioning, so can you describe for us, I don't know if you have your landscape architect there, how does two 11-foot high trees replace a 30-inch trunk diameter age significant tree?
Well, the benefit, I am the landscape architect actually. The benefit of two new trees is that we're planting them in a brand new landscape at the appropriate grade. And so they're going to be planted, or they are planted in a new condition, ready to take hold. Whereas retaining a tree in a tree well is kind of a suboptimal condition, which cedar trees are sensitive trees to begin with, and so it's hard to know for sure how they'll respond over the long term. So by giving two new trees that are a decent height, beginning with this project, the opportunities for them to grow and mature with the site, just like many of the other trees we've planted.
Other questions?
So you're saying, sorry, that your design was suboptimal?
I am not saying that. I'm saying that when we develop sites, we have to look at, we are requested to retain trees that are possible to retain, and there are a lot of design challenges in doing that. And so in a situation like this, especially Richmond, which sees all of its sites, or most of its sites being built up, that creates a grade differential between the finished and the existing grade, which we can work with, but it's never certain the results. And so in this case, we're working with it by creating a combined tree well, which also matches with the adjacent site, and we think it will be successful. But ultimately, with trees, you never know for sure. You just do the best you can based on the best practices.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure, the trees like that are incredibly significant, and through our development approval process, we go to considerable lengths to ensure that they survive. I don't want to be facetious, but, a focus needs to be here equivalent to if you accidentally forgot to build a 3-bedroom unit. I'm sure that wouldn't happen on the development side, but if you did and decided, well, you know what, we'll just replace it with a 1-bedroom unit. For me, it doesn't fly, right? The focus on retaining something like this and making sure it does become successfully retained and stays healthy for the future full life of the tree is something that has to be achieved. And if it's not achieved, there needs to be very, very significant compensation. And I'm not sure 2 smaller trees cuts it. Anyways, I'll let the other panel members weigh in.
Okay. Cecilia, any questions?
Yes, I guess given that you said that you didn't think that the tree well would serve the other 2 trees well, then my question is, what are you doing to mitigate to make sure that they will survive? Because I don't want to be 6 months from now you coming in and replacing those other 2 trees with 2 smaller trees.
I think with these 2 trees, they're in a combined situation. They have a much larger space between them, and so is not such a confined situation. And also the neighboring site on the boundary on the other side is also at the same grade. So they don't have the same kinds of concerns as with the tree that we ultimately lost, which was confined on all sides, and also a single tree.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions, so thank you, and take a seat. Mr. Craig, do you have comments on this one?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public here that want to comment on this variance or general compliance? No? No one? Anything written?
Nothing.
Okay, so that brings us to panel deliberation. Maybe I'll just get the ball rolling. I'm concerned. I don't have an issue with the overall changes, but I'm really concerned about what I heard about this tree. And I think it's one thing to have someone make an error and inadvertently, accidentally damage a tree. But I think that what I was hearing today also was, well, we're just kind of not sure we wanted to go with the original commitments. And to me, that's more troubling. You know, the time to weigh the survivability of the tree in the approved plan, et cetera, is not at time of construction. It's when you're looking for development approval. So for me, it's very murky why this tree was damaged and removed. I don't know whether it was an accident. I don't know whether it was a conscious act or something else. But regardless, in my view, the compensation that's proposed is inadequate. And, you know, I would be thinking that this should go back to staff to discuss with the applicant a far more substantial compensation package for the loss of that tree. Because I'm kind of with John that I don't think that putting in a couple of oversized, you know, cedars to place it, I just don't think that it's sufficient. And if it can't be done on site, then I think it should be done elsewhere in this community, because ultimately the loss of that tree that was damaged takes an asset away from the broader community as well. So they're my thoughts on this.
I'd echo those. I don't have anything to add.
So the suggestion would be that we refer this to the next meeting of the permit panel, which I think is Mr. Craig, September the 30th.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. 3:30 p.m. Council chambers, September 30th.
And the request would be for the developer to work with city staff to identify a more appropriate compensation package for the loss of the tree.
So moved.
Okay, so we've got, it's moved. Is it seconded? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? So it's carried. Okay. So, Evangel, we have to do some switching out before we can bring the next crew in. Is that right? Okay. Just let me know when you're ready to go.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just we have another, yeah, that'd be great.
Do they have to sit on the pink ones, Matt? Ready? Okay, take a seat. So for anyone from the public that's here, this application is a development permit. The property location is 7151 Number 2 Road, and the development permit is to allow for the construction of 4 townhouse units. There are a couple of variances. The first is to reduce the lot width from 50 metres to 20.12 metres, and the second variance is to reduce the front yard setback from 6 metres to 4.55. So with that, Mr. Cheng, name and address for the record and any presentation that you want to make.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Cheng, Matthew Cheng Architect. This is a 4-unit townhouse at 715 Number 2 Road. Developer is Conic Development Limited, Architects Matthew Cheng Architects, and the landscape architect is PMG Landscape Architects. So this is a 4-unit townhouse project. And just for the context plan, this project is located at 715 Number 2 Road. It is between the Grenfell Avenue and Blundell Road. The frontage is only 20.114 meter, which, as mentioned, that it is doesn't fulfill the minimum frontage of the major arterial road of minimum frontage of 50 meters. The reason is it is a orphan lot, which is located between a church to the north, which is Richmond Presbyterian Church, and a south existing pretty big townhouse project to the south. So we are an orphan lot, and we're asking for this variance. And there will be a cross-access easement registered on title to allow access to the south existing townhouse. But unfortunately, the Strata Council doesn't allow us to have access to the property. But anyways, we have provided our own independent access to go to Number 2 Road, and we don't have to rely on the driveway. So for the site plan, as you see, the driveway, we have independent driveway from, we have independent access driveway for Number 2 Road, and all the parking are side-by-side parking, and we are providing 8 spaces for 4 units. There will be 1 visitor parking provided for this complex, and there will be Class A bicycle space 5, inside the garages. And there will be Class 2 bicycle rack. There will be 1 besides the mailbox at the front of the property. And there will be a spacious amenity space of 114 square meters for 4 units, which is on the left-hand side or the west side of the property. And there will be electrical room located at the west of the building, and the mail kiosk will be located at the east of the building at the front of the building. And there will be EV chargers in all garages, and garage room will be located next to the building 1, which is the first unit of the Number 2 Road. Regarding the streetscape on Number 2 Road, the middle image is our development, and it is a 3-story building with 4 units, and we have 3 meter setback to the north property, which is a church, and the area of that area is the parking lot, which is a very spacious parking lot to the north. On the south side, there will be 7.5 meter setback from the existing townhouse to the south. So we talk about there's a church to the north, there's an existing townhouse to the south, and there are some single-family houses to the west side or the left-hand side. And we are requesting a variance of the front yard setback from 6 meter to 5.73 meter to the building and 4.55 meter to the garbage room. This variance will enhance the setback of the rear setback to 9.73 meter, which is very generous to the single family to the west side. And the actual distance between the townhouse and the single family house will be around 20 meters in between, so which is pretty good. And also, we are proposing an amenity space, outdoor amenity space at the rear yard, which could act as a buffer between the townhouse and the single-family houses. And there'll be no balcony on the west and south side of our proposal building, and which could eliminate privacy issues. So the first level plan, there are all two-car garage. There'll be a rec room on the ground floor, which will open up to the backyard for the unit. And on the right-hand side, on the east unit, this will be a convertible unit with a lift. Second floor is living dining kitchen with one bedroom in 3 units, and the right-hand side is also a convertible unit without the extra bedroom. And the third level will be a 3-bedroom with 2 bathrooms, and also the east unit is also a convertible unit, and I will describe in detail a little bit later. Regarding the fire truck plan, access plan, we fulfill the maximum 45 meter from the fire hydrant to the fire truck, and the maximum 45 meter from the fire truck to every fire access doors. And they're all measured in line parallel to the driveway, not in diagonal. Since the lot is pretty small and we want to make sure the passenger car could turn around within the site without backing out to the street, so we have retained a traffic consultant to look at the driveway configuration, and it's been demonstrated that the passenger car could turn around within the site without backing out to the street. Regarding the grading at the property line, we have civil engineer on board to design grading. So we have make sure that the main floor are minimum 0.3 meters above the crown of the road. For the east property line, which is adjacent to number 2 row, and there'll be a slight slope from the finished grade to the property line. On the north side, which is abutting the church, there is a small retaining wall about 0.43 meters at the property line to accommodate the slight grade change between our property and the church. And there's a right of way on the church side, and we are not disturbing it. On the west side, as mentioned, there's a single-family house, and there will be some right of way there, and there are also some protected tree there. So we have made no retaining wall in those areas, and it is achieved by sloping the driveway from the east to the west slightly, and we don't need any grade changes to those areas. On the south side, because there's a driveway there, there will be a small, there's a little bit small grade changes from our property and the existing townhouse to the south, and we are using there's an existing retaining wall at their property line to take care of this, accommodate these small grade changes. Regarding the convertible unit, it is located on the right-hand side, which is on the east side, the first unit. And they have double car garage, and we can accommodate future handicap vehicles. And the site is fully accessible to the amenity space and the mailbox area. And for the detail of the convertible unit, the accessible bedroom is located on the 3rd level, and it is accessed by a future lift, access from the main floor to the 3rd level. And all the interior door and hallway fulfill the minimum requirement. And the washroom, the space at the front on the side of the toilet fulfill the requirement. Blocking for future grab bar, lever style plumbing fixtures. Cabinet could be easily removable for future wheelchair. And the bath and shower control are accessible. For the kitchen, the plumbing and gas lines will be clear of this under-counter space. The cabinets are also easier to be removed for the future use, and there will be lever-style handles. For the windows, they could be opened with one hand, and the outlet and switches, and there will be option of smart home option. The control center is proximity to the user, and it could be easy to control the appliances. And all outlets will be upgraded to 4-plex. Regarding sustainability, this project is kind of like a pre-STEPCO project. We are using Energy 82 as the standard, and we have certified energy advisor on board. But actually, the outcome is very similar to STEPCO 3 projects, and we are using air source heat pump for the heating, and we will be using electric hot water tank and HRV, and we will have solar hot water ready for the pipes. Talking about air source heat pump, people always worry about the noise, right? So we have retained acoustic engineer on board, and the machine noise level was estimated at 45 dBA, which is pretty low. And we have located the outdoor machine, facing the church parking lot at the backyard of the facing the church parking lot, which has the minimum impact to the neighbors. And also, we have acoustic engineer on board, so they also measure the environmental noise. And we have only one window which needs to be upgraded, which is at the northeast corner of the bedroom, which is facing number 2 row. They need to be upgraded according to the acoustic engineer report. Other sustainability feature for the water conservation, we will have a dual flush washroom, a dual flush toilet, drought tolerant plant. For energy conservation, we will have Energy Star appliances, LED lighting, electric car charging, programmable thermostat, motion sensor light in powder room and master ensuite, and low E glass windows. In terms of building material, we have renewable material like bricks. We are using local building materials and durable building materials like the Hardy material. And for the waste reduction, we'll be using 3-stream-based waste bin for construction, for recycling the waste construction material, and compost bin will be located in the kitchen, and garbage and recycle bin will be located in the garages. For the health and air quality, we will retain and plant trees at the perimeter, and we'll be using low volatile organic compound paint, adhesive, and flooring. Regarding the form and character, the architectural form is character. You'll be using a traditional craftsman style. The design a little bit different from the townhouse to the south, but it is complemented by the high slope roof, gables, window proportion, heavy window trims, use of siding and facing bricks. And there will be different color for the entry doors, coordinated bay windows. There will be an entry porch on the south elevation. And the building will be accents with dark window frame, entry porch, glass railing, and front doors. For the sample board, we are proposing fiber cement siding, lap siding, vertical siding, and shingle at the gables. We'll be using a facing brick in terracotta brick color. And there will be shingle in charcoal color, downpipe and gutter in coordinated colors, fascia board in beige color, window and front door will be in charcoal, and garage door and railing will be in gray. So there's a couple of perspectives at the southwest corner and the northeast corner, which is a typo there. And there's a couple of elevation. The top one is from number 2 road, front elevation, and the bottom is the south elevation from the driveway. And other elevation, the top is the west elevation facing the amenity space, and the bottom is the north elevation facing the church parking lot. And there's a couple of axonometric view to the building, just like a virtual model of the building, showing the massing of the building. And this is my architectural presentation, and I'll leave it for landscape architect to do the landscape portion. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Denisa Dimitrova, PMG Landscape Architect, 4185 Pill Creek Drive, Burnaby. So landscape for this project have been designed to incorporate two existing trees proposed for retention at the southwest corner of the site. They are off-site trees. In tree protection zone, we are retaining existing grade, and all elements proposed there are to be installed under arborist supervision. Each unit has his private yard with shade tree, landscape, and open lawn area. Streetscape has been improved with low aluminum fence, transparent fence, which set back from property line in 2 feet. So there we have a space to incorporate a visually interesting plant material. Privacy from neighboring property has been created with 6 feet wood fence along west and north property, and we'll keep existing 6 feet fence along south property line. Yards are separated with fencing and landscape for privacy. We are proposing big for this townhouse play area with play equipment which provide different play opportunities like sliding, climbing. I have photos of that play equipment. Many kids can use it at the same time. As per manufacturer capacity, it's 10 kids at the same time, and age group is 2 to 5 years. They can, this play equipment provide different play opportunities like sliding, climbing, spinning, motor skills, balancing. There is a bench provided next to play area for caregivers and for socializing. 2 bike racks are provided next to mail kiosk, and permeable pavers in different colors are provided for driveway. It's one color. For visitor parking spot is different color, and for that small plaza at mail kiosk is 3rd color. That's an overview for a landscape for this project.
Okay, thank you. I think what we'll do is we'll hear from city staff, and then we'll deal with any questions from the panel.
Should be.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rather comprehensive presentation, so I'll keep my comments to a minimum. There are 2 variances associated with the project. Both variances were identified at the rezoning stage. The setback variance to number 2 road is a function of road dedication being provided along number 2 road and to increase the separation to the single family dwellings to the west. As referenced by the architect, there was an acoustical report provided to demonstrate that there is no issues with traffic noise as a result of the reduced front yard setback. The lot width variance is a technical variance due to the site geometry and it being a orphan site, so to speak. There will be a servicing agreement for frontage works at the building permit stage. That would conclude my comments.
Okay. Maybe I can lead with a question. Wayne, is there landscaping along that property line to the townhouse project to the south?
No, there would be a fence separating the 2 projects, limited landscaping due to the driveway width.
It looks like a tight site. Is there landscaping on the townhouse side?
There is a side yard on the adjacent site to the south, so there is landscaping on the adjacent site to the south with the exclusion of the termination of their driveway.
Okay. John, Cecilia, do you have any questions on this?
Question, the interface between the play area and the visitors parking, what's there to separate the grade and prevent cars from using the play area to do the turn?
Small grade change, like 18, I think 30, less than 30 centimeters, and there is a fence between, for safety reason, between the parking stall and driveway.
John, any questions from you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. I appreciate the presentation highlighting the sustainability features. A lot of that looks great. But I note in the staff report, this project's being exempted from Energy Step Code requirements because the building permit was submitted in December last year. Is that, and maybe it's a question for both the applicant and staff, I mean, is that normal that a building permit submitted 9 months ahead of DP consideration? Is that a necessary exemption? I think I heard the applicant say that you're largely meeting step 3 of the Energy Step Code.
Through the chair to Mr. Irving, I guess I'll tackle the first part in terms of whether it's common for building permits to be reviewed concurrently with the development permit. I wouldn't say it's a common approach. It is something that the city does permit. In terms of the grandfathering provisions, it adopted by council when the STEP code was introduced, it did require that a building permit application was submitted prior to December last year, and while the development permit was under review. So the project does meet the grandfathering provisions identified by council. In terms of the differences between the current proposal and achieving STEP code 3, I'd refer those to the architect.
So they qualify for the exemption at the city end.
That is correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we hear from the applicant on then what are you effectively meeting step 3?
He's scurrying away. Do you want me to bring him back? Back you come.
Yes. Sorry, what's the question?
Go again, John.
In your summary on sustainability, you indicated that you were effectively meeting step 3 of the Energy Step Code. So is that the case, regardless of your exemption?
Yes, we have the energy advisor to design the building according to the Energy 82, which is, from my understanding, I'm not an expert, but which should be fairly...
So how far off step 3 are you? I think step that's 3. What John is asking.
Step 3, yeah.
How far, are you meeting step 3?
No,
How far off?
I'm not an expert in the energy, but from the feature that I'm seeing, and I'm doing other project under step 3, right? I think they are very similar, from my understanding. We have air source heat pump, we have HRV, and I think we are quite equivalent from my personal point of view.
Okay, well, maybe, I mean, if that representation is going to be made, maybe staff could take it under an advisement that as we move through with the building permitting, that the applicant's engineer provides an assessment on that. That would be good to know. I mean, if a project with these types of features to meet EnerGuide 82 is effectively meeting the step code level 3, then that would be good to know.
I think what we could do if it moves ahead is give direction that the sustainability features that have been identified to staff in the panel today are retained through the building permit process, right? So you don't want to come to the panel and say you've got an air source heat pump and then go to something less at building stage because you're trying to cut a few dollars.
Absolutely.
John, anything else?
I'm good.
I do have a question. I mean, it's an orphan lot, and honestly, I don't like these gun barrel type developments. They're just not my favorite. I think they're difficult from a design point of view. But I'm looking at your front elevation and that big brick thing at grade, and what is that? And it just strikes me as a brutal treatment. So why does it have to be there? And why can't you do something to either make it more architecturally interesting or landscape it? Yeah.
I think this is covered by this. I don't know where this is covered by this.
What is that? Is that for your garbage or something?
Yeah, this is the brick thing is the garbage room. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's your decision to put it there, but to me, it looks like a blight on the streetscape, you know.
Well, I think we have put the high quality material like the bricks on the surface. And it is
not doing it for me. I mean, this is your streetscape, right?
Yeah.
And not only on your streetscape, but it's probably the most prominent part of your front facade, right? Because compared with that, everything else you've done kind of in scale melts away. And what is that? You've got some sort of a high-level window in there?
Yeah, we have a high-level window, and there will be the...
what is that other thing? Is that your mailbox or something?
There is a mailbox, yeah. And there will be actually the brick will be covered by the mailbox, and there will be a bicycle rack in front. So it's not the plain brick features, but there will be some element in front.
Well, you're not winning me over, right? So I guess my question would be, what can you do to enhance that elevation? I mean, to me, honestly, that looks like something that you attach to the back of a building that no one can see, not the most prominent corner of the street facade.
I think we have landscaping in front. So we have landscaping.
Doesn't look like it.
So in reality, there will be, it's only about 4 meters away, and there'll be low hedge. So, I mean, unfortunately, this rendering is only showing the building itself, but if I, including the landscaping, so...
Well, they're your drawings, so, you know.
But in reality...
I'm just responding to what I'm seeing, and to me, other than putting a bit of brick on it, it's just a brutal element. I'm sorry, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, we can improve it in the...
So how might you do that?
We can change it to small siding material. It could be a little bit less harsh to the street level, and could be more coordinated with the upper.
So you have a window in there, but it strikes me as kind of awkward. It doesn't integrate with anything you're doing in that entry. It's a different shape and placement to anything else you're doing on the facade. What, you know, why is it there? Why does it look so clumsy? And, you know, could you review the openings in that and do something that's more residential?
Yes, I think we can improve it by change it to a residential window with obscure glass, and it will look like a ground floor rather than a noticeable garbage room.
I think it's a real eyesore on your streetscape, frankly.
I will improve it by putting in a residential window there and change
windows.
Windows.
To get some balance or something, because you kind of got it high and over to the side.
I agree with you.
Honestly, without being too critical, it looks like something you'd bury on the back of a building, not present to your street. Yeah.
I appreciate this comment, and I can easily change it. No problem.
Okay. Well, let's see where it goes. We've still got a way to go here today. So, thank you. That brings us to any public comments. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this project? Nobody? Okay, I'm going to close that part of the meeting. So we do have a written submission, at least one. Is that correct, Mr. Craig?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have received a letter from Alex J. Chang, an associate with Les Perons Mendez Lawyers, representing the adjacent strata to the south. The letter expresses concerns related to this proposed development using the driveway on the adjacent site to the south. The letter is unfounded. This proposal is being provided with a driveway to number 2 road.
Okay. Was there a cross-access agreement over that property?
At the rezoning stage, we did investigate use of the driveway on the adjacent site to the south.
Right.
It was determined through the rezoning and public hearing process that this site would be granted its own driveway to number 2 road. The city will be registering a statutory right-of-way over the driveway on the subject site, so that in the future, should the intersection of Comstock and number 2 road become signalized, we could connect the driveway on this site to the adjacent
but
site.
The townhouses to the south will be unaffected.
Right.
That's part of this. Okay. All right. Anything else written? No? That's it? All right. So that brings us to panel deliberation. John, Cecilia, you got any thoughts?
I think some good comments have been raised. I think so with the chair's referral on the sustainability issues, and I do agree with regards to some additional treatment being necessary on the frontage of the building. So if that can be taken under advisement and revised, I think overall I'd be prepared to support the project.
Okay. Mr. Sham?
I was going to say it's a challenging site as the orphan lot and not being able to use the cross-access agreement.
Yeah, and I do recognize that, but I think that there are a lot of good things about the project, but I think that between now and council, there should be a real effort, Mr. Cheng, to improve that part of your streetscape. And I'm not talking about something minor. I'm talking about a real effort. And it would be design, architectural, and some landscaping maybe in combination. But yeah, I would be prepared to support moving this ahead with a direction to staff to resolve that at the staff level before moving on to council. If staff are unable to, then they can bring it back to the panel and we'll take another look at it. Yeah. So essentially, we've got the staff recommendation with direction on the sustainability and the design. So is there someone to move the recommendation? Okay,
Second.
Cecilia, second John. Okay, call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So Mr. Cheng, do a good job of that, okay? Okay. some formalities. We'll get the item on the table. It's a development permit for Townline Ventures at 5591 in the vicinity of 5591 number 3 road. So it's at the corner of number 3 and Lansdowne, northwest corner. And it's for a mixed use with 4 towers, 1 office and 3 residential. Is that close enough? Okay. So you've listened to the others. Name and address for the record and then a brief presentation.
My name is Peter Odegaard. I'm an architect and architects. Our offices are at 1066 West Street in Vancouver. I'm here tonight on behalf of Townline and Canderel, who are the developers. So the site is located at the northwest corner of number 3 road and Lansdowne Road. The development site is made up of 4 existing parcels to be consolidated into a single site. We have some photos on the screen here of the existing site. It's currently made up of office building, retail service, and community uses on the northwest corner of the intersection. To the immediate east across number 3 road is the Lansdowne Canada Line station. The site is located within the Lansdowne Village area of the city center area plan, which envisions this intersection in this neighborhood as the center of the city center, so sees the highest density and height for the building. The next slide demonstrates this conceptually with the proposed development and some other contemplated developments potentially which could shape this area in the future. The proposal is a mixed use 4 building, 4 tower development over a single story podium. There are 3 15-story strata residential buildings and a single 12-story office building, which addresses the corner of number 3 road and Lansdowne. These 4 towers sit above a single story, roughly 6-meter or 20-foot high podium, which contains primarily retail lobbies and community space. This podium is notable in the city of Richmond because it is quite short relative to many other buildings we see. That is because the parking has been moved below grade in development primarily. So there are 2 full levels of parking below grade, which contain the residential and portion of the commercial parking, visitor parking, and a portion of the retail commercial parking are located at grade, and there's a single partial level above grade that contains some parking as well. So this is the site and ground floor plan. I'll just note firstly that north is to the right-hand side of the page. So number 3 road is at the bottom of the page. Lansdowne Road is at the left-hand side of the page. So retail and lobby spaces primarily wrap the ground floor on number 3 road, then down Lansdowne to the west. 2,000 square foot community amenity space that fronts onto the southwest corner and up the Future Road, which is at the top of the page. The Future Road is currently a lane and will be widened and turned into a roadway through dedication from the rezoning process. All vehicular loading, waste, and recycling access is located from the Future Road at a single point here on the northwest corner of the site into the interior of the site. I'll also note the Lansdowne Linear Park fronts onto the site on the south side along Lansdowne Road. So the architecture of the project really reflects the mixed-use program and the importance of this corner and the site within the city of Richmond. So we have a sculpted signature office tower on the corner of number 3 road in Lansdowne, which is really intended to be a sort of jewel or a sculptural piece that's framed by 3 quite similar in nature residential towers around it. The residential towers are quite interesting, we think, in themselves, in that they use angled balconies, that are rotated in plan and in elevation, to produce a visually interesting impact that surrounds this office building and completes out the project. So by locating the parking below grade, we have this low podium expression around the building. this is really important to us, and we're really excited about this because it allows these towers to express themselves as individual elements, but also allows the retail and lobby expressions to have their own identity within the projects. I'll note that the podium roof, which is above this, is entirely covered by landscaping and common amenity spaces, kids play, etc., which our landscape architect will elaborate on in a few minutes. I'll go through the elevations and some additional renderings here quickly. So the elevations show the office building on the right-hand side here, and then the balcony expression in one of the residential buildings. So there's sort of a difference in the design of these elements, but also a relationship in their sort of angular nature and relationship to one another. Lastly, I'll finish my presentation with just a note on public art. So there is public art incorporated into the project. There will be 2 nodes, I'll call them, that surround the office building that is located in the breezeway that provide access from the public realm through to the parking at grade in the interior of the site. On the right-hand side of the page here is a conceptual rendering which shows these vertical light tubes, which will be illuminated in varying patterns and varying rhythms. The intent here is to provide an interesting and engaging public experience as you walk past, but by locating them on the soffit of these breezeways, allows us to mitigate light pollution and be sensitive to the neighborhood around. With that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
I'm having trouble following where the public art will be.
I'll go back to the ground floor site plan and just highlight that for you, or I can also just show you on the model. So around the office building, we've worked hard to sort of differentiate it, and we have these 2 breezeways.
Right, okay.
There are these public access ways at grade where you can access the interior parking.
Okay, so you have one on Lansdowne and another on 3, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can pass through or access the interior of the site through these points.
Right.
The intent is the underside of this roof here.
And they're completely open, accessible to the public spaces?
They will be. There will be security gates where they will be closed for that type of purposes at a determined hour or late at night when restaurants, retail.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'm Justin Benjamin. I'm with John DeCruz Landscape, and we are at 102 West 5th Avenue, Vancouver. So, as Peter mentioned, just starting on the ground plane here, just to clarify a little bit, I'll keep it very brief, but there's a 10-meter dedication of Lansdowne, which is going to be given to the city, and that's going to become a linear park. So there has been some work with the city to coordinate design. It's on the model here, it has a little bit more green than it does now, and that's because staff has considerations for the future, with this being the center of the center, to have a higher density, more urban feel. So this gives them more room to potentially have events in the future and so on. But there is a canopy that will more or less shade the entire park that is going to have area lighting and modular seating, but still gives the pedestrian a lot of room, gives bike lane its own space, and also has an area for retail to spill out in front. The streets, number 3 road and the new lane are very similar. The only thing that's missing is that canopied furniture area. Yeah, the public art integrates with that. There's going to be sufficient lighting so that this could be active past dusk if needed in the winter months. So on the next one, I'll talk briefly about the amenity space on the podium. I'm not sure which slide that is. Oh, should I change it? There we go. Yeah, so that was talking about this area here. For the amenity space, what we wanted to do was maximize all the areas for the different key programs, which is private amenity, common amenity, and then the office amenity. Because the office building is also sharing this podium landscape. We wanted to make sure that it was appropriately buffered so that you could have a function spill out, but not interfere or for it to be clearly delineated from the public, from the residential common amenity space. So the first thing we did was make sure that all the ground level, quote unquote, ground level patios for the residents were generous and appropriately buffered. So they have tall screening so that they could be used throughout the year. And while you're sitting, you have appropriate screening for people passing through the common amenity walkways. The next thing was to make sure that there was a good circulation route from the two podium exits, which is one near the office building just here and one at the northwest. So there's a 2-meter walkway that is for fire access, for safety, and just in general, if that all the programmed areas are accessible without any of the paths being cut off. So you could have a full circulation route if somebody wants to, do something a little less active than going down to the street and jogging. The next thing was to look at the kids' play area, which was a requirement that took a little bit of finessing. But what's interesting about this project, and I've worked on 36 projects that are similar to this, none of them have a pool. And as a former lifeguard instructor swimmer, I don't want to get started on the benefits of this in terms of child development and other recreational benefits for adults as well. But in conjunction with the dedicated kids play right at the south, which is the sunniest area, we have a more structured, safe, typical kids play environment here with a lawn directly adjacent and a connection and a spill out for the fitness inside the indoor amenity. But this is connected through this pool is completely gated, screened fence for safety, going to be fogged. This will provide another element for supervised play, a more free-form skill building application here. And then another major area is this quiet garden and dog run. So along the north end here, we have a dedicated dog run with dog wash station, and then also a large area here that's going to be treed and have an urban recreation feel with canopies throughout for some screening where we don't have trees. And that's more or less it. We have a few areas that are dedicated with outdoor kitchens and outdoor dining near the central amenity on either side and at the east side. And I guess that's a little more zoomed in, but that's more or less the end.
Okay, great. Thank you. Again, let's hear from city staff and then we'll deal with questions. So, Wayne?
A couple brief comments, if I may, Mr. Chair. There is a city-owned amenity space included in this development. That space has been designed in construction or in consultation with city stakeholders. There is a significant servicing agreement associated with the project for the significant road improvements along Lansdowne, the introduction of the new north-south road on the west side of the site and improvements to number 3 road. The Lansdowne Linear Park will also be designed through the servicing agreement process. The public art installation within the breezeways was reviewed and endorsed by the Public Art Committee on May 22nd of 2019. There will be an on-site low-carbon district energy utility plant constructed with the development and transferred to the Lulu Island Energy Company. The development also has been designed with acoustics in mind in response to aircraft noise and the Canada Line adjacency.
Maybe I can just start with a couple of quick questions, Wayne. The Greenway, the Lansdowne Greenway, that's been designed with our Parks Department, right? They're fully on board and it meets their needs?
It will be designed through the servicing agreement process in consultation with Parks and Engineering, yes.
So you've got it conceptual and there's more detail to come in that process?
That is correct.
And then with the new north-south road on the west side, is that all residential?
No, there will be, the city-owned amenity space is actually at the corner of the north-south road and Lansdowne.
Lansdowne?
Yes.
Okay. But other than that, as you go north, it's residential, is that? Or maybe the architect, you'd know. No, your site. What
Our site will be residential and
at the south end? Okay. All right. That's it for me. Cecilia, do you have questions?
The affordable housing meets the city's requirement, I'm assuming?
Yes, Mrs. Sham, the project does achieve the city's affordable housing requirements. The affordable units are dispersed through amongst the 3 residential towers.
The other one is more a question to staff. I noticed that the bike path is separated just by a rumble strip from the city's right of way, and we are assured that that's enough to separate the 2 uses.
Through the chair to Mrs. Shem, that will also be part of the servicing agreement design. Detailed design will be reviewed by transportation and engineering.
Okay. Anything else? John, we haven't forgotten about you.
Thanks. Yeah. Interesting presentation. Just a question, what's happening on the roofs of the towers? Are they just graveled, or is there roof access? Are the patios and landscaping? You could just describe that a bit?
Yeah, it will just be a ballast roof. They will not be accessible, primarily due to height restrictions.
But you've already pushed the height to as far as you can? Good question, though, because there's a lot of roof.
There's a lot of roof, yeah, but you've got, I'm just looking at, I'm not sure if this is the right plan. I can't find the number, but you've got elevator tower rooms projecting above the roof line, or are they flush?
The elevator, so it's an interesting detail to this project. So as everyone here knows, we have a hard height limit in Richmond due to YBR. So the top of the building, 47 meters geodetic, is the roof parapet of the elevator overrun. We didn't touch on this in our presentation, but we wanted to further differentiate the roof lines in the project. So I apologize for those not here, but on the model you can see that we've actually sloped the tops of the roofs.
Yeah.
So the parapet of the roof, so the perimeter of the roof, actually slopes up to opposite corners. While the roof itself will be partially flat, the visual impact on the public realm actually appears that these roof lines are sloped, and so the corners slope up to the same height roughly as the tops of those elevator overruns.
Okay. I mean, is it possible to do any landscaping up there? I mean, or green roof type treatment?
We have focused the green roof efforts onto the podium roof surface. The additional assembly width in order to achieve a green roof of substance would likely jeopardize a potential floor of the development. In order to accommodate planting up on the roof, it does require quite a thick assembly in order to get soil. I could potentially turn it over to Lance if they have any.
They're right on their height, John.
Yeah, I'd say there's an extensive roof on top of the common amenity at level 7, which we did add trees. But with this roof here, I think just a sustainable feature is to just have a higher SRI on the roofing. The only additional benefit you get from having a green roof instead of that would be stormwater infiltration to detain slightly before it enters city utilities. So I think that's mostly taken care of with the overall design of the buildings. So I don't think it's providing necessarily an added benefit, but it is a good point. But I think there's structural concerns. Yeah.
What do you have on level 7?
On level 7, there is an extensive green roof that has quite a deep profile, but yeah, we can't quite achieve the same profile on these tower roofs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Square footage of that extensive green roof on level 7.
The extensive green roof itself, I think, is around 250 square meters.
Okay, you've lost me. Where is this? Between those two buildings. Oh yeah, gotcha. Nice model.
Yeah, but all of the podium has almost a 1 meter depth, so there's quite a lot of infiltration detention through this soil load on the podium that's happening already.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a good point.
John, it's much better when you're here.
I know the model looks like I'm landing at YVR and I'm looking out the left plane window.
Okay, moving right along. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Anyone from the public here that would like to comment on this project? Oh, anything written?
Mr. Chair.
Okay. So it brings us to panel deliberations. It's a key site, right? It really is, and I'm quite happy to support it. I think it's a really nice project, and thank you, and well done.
Yeah, I would just echo that. It looks like a lot of thought has gone into this. It presents very handsomely, and certainly pushing the parking underground creates a much nicer streetscape and podium. So overall, very well done. I'd be happy to support it.
Okay. So anyone to move it?
Yeah, just
Cecilia's moving. Are you seconding?
Second.
It's seconded. Okay. Call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Great, thank you. For people that have been around and then you know the drill. You'll give us the presentation. So item number 4, development variance permit, Danielle Planning Consultants, and it's a variety of lots around 2151 number 7 Road. And the variances are for, I think, 7 or is it 8? 8 buildings? 8 agricultural buildings, setback variance. Okay. Name and address.
Brian Daniel Planning Consultants, Suite 220, 8171 Cook Road in Richmond. with me is Mr. May, the property owners, and Mr. Bob Holke, the agrologist.
Okay.
Report. I'll be fairly brief here. I just want you to know that the May family has been farming in East Richmond since 1897, and with succeeding generations continuing to farm on all of these properties, and it's become time for once again to pass on the farmlands to the next generation who are farming it. So the development variance permit we're requesting today is intended to correct some historical anomalies with respect to the buildings on site, some of which were built back as far as, I think, 1938.
Right, okay.
And have now been found to be in non-conformance with the current bylaw. So the variances we're requesting are part of a subdivision plan which will be realigning some property lines, converting 4 lots into 3, providing access to 7 Road, and rationalizing the property lines with the actual farm activities so that the succession plan can be more effective. And then Dave and Kim May will be passing the properties on to their children who are currently involved in the farming activities. So there's 4 existing buildings that don't comply with the setbacks, and we're requesting variances for those so that they can continue in their location without any additional subdivision or trying to move buildings around or whatever. And then there's 4 additional buildings right on the very south side of
that tight little cluster there, and
yeah, and those are the buildings go back to, I think one of them's 1938, the others are mid-40s, and they encroach across the property line a little bit into the remainder of Lot 5 to the south.
Right.
So these buildings are very difficult or impossible to move, and so what we're requesting we do is, because Mr. May also owns the remainder of Lot 5, we propose to move that lot line to the south so it would capture those existing buildings.
Oh, so they don't straddle, but they still don't have the setback.
They still don't have the setback. We didn't want to go to the full setback because we didn't want to reduce the arable land on their...
But right now they straddle 2 lots,
right? The side yards there aren't really very useful for anything anyway. So what we've done is it allows us to capture those buildings, a little more side yard for the other building immediately to the west, and then everything would be on the properties.
So Brian, you've got 4 lots, you're going to 3.
Yes.
But I'm not following, can you point out on that plan, where are the 4 now and where will the 3 be when you're done?
It may be beneficial to refer to attachment 1 of the staff report.
Okay.
Actually, the plan that shows it the best, the one from Mr. Holke's report, these colored ones here, where it shows the existing 4 lots, lot 1 to the west, lot 2 in the northeast, and then lots 3 and 4. And essentially what it does, and you got that?
Which one are you on?
Attachment 5 is what the applicant is referring to, page 2 of attachment 5.
It's easy to read, so the other one here is confusing with the colors and the fine lines.
That's it there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm finally caught up.
Yeah. So when you see the plan of the existing lots, you've got lot 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
So what it's essentially doing is combining lots 3 and 4 into 1 lot.
Okay.
And then you can see just on the east side of lot 1, there's the red line, but then there's a white line down there. Well, the white line is actually the edge of the field. So in the new proposed subdivision, it's moved that lot line just to the west so it aligns with that. So this is where we're rationalizing the actual farm activity.
Okay.
And then and then lot 2 remains basically the same except for the lot line moving over there. But what lot 3 and 4 combining it also does is we've allowed for a panhandle on the south side of the new lot, of the old lot 4.
Oh, to get to lot 1?
To get to lot 1, so they have access to 7 Road. But the other key thing it does when you look at the larger plan on these other ones, is that it allows the farm buildings in that cluster to be split between the 2 future owners, so that one of the sons taking over the property doesn't have all the buildings, and then the other one would have to rebuild and duplicate the buildings again. So it works out quite well. We have the panhandle to provide access, plus it also provides for rationalization of the buildings on site.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
I don't think so. It pretty much covers it.
Okay, let's hear from staff, from Mr. Craig, and then we'll see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple comments. As indicated in the applicant's presentation, it does reduce the number of lots within the ALR, which is supported by city policy. The subdivision does not create any additional residential development potential amongst these lots. Currently, 3 lots have potential for residential development. The proposed subdivision would result in 3 lots with residential development potential. The proposal was reviewed and supported by the Food Security and Agricultural Advisory Committee.
Okay. And I think that Mr. Daniel mentioned that it's going to, even though we need variances to setbacks, it's actually going to eliminate some of these buildings straddling a property line.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions from the panel? John, or I can't see John, but...
Oh, you can't see me?
Oh, here you go. Here you go.
Just a quick one. I think you guys covered it, but maybe I missed it. So I'm looking again on what is it? I guess it's attachment 5, the plan that Mr. Daniel was referring to. So the lot 4 in the southeast corner, where you've got that cluster of 4 small buildings, that the lot line immediately south is that's a new lot line. The lot line currently bisects those buildings. Is that right?
Through the chair, yes. The south property line on that lot 4, the buildings actually encroach into the lot to the south, which is the remainder of lot 5.
Okay, so
they run through the building.
Just about 0.58 meters, it captures all those buildings. And,
okay, great. I thought I heard that. I just wanted to clarify, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's going to get them all inside one lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Any public? I don't see anyone. Anything written? No. What am I doing? Okay. Public, written. All right. Panel deliberation. I think this, from my point of view, is supportable. It's moving in the right direction with the subdivision. It's getting everything on the lots. It's providing for succession. So, and although I'm not convinced I entirely understand it, I'm going to support it. So if someone moves it.
I would just add, if the current configuration was what you were proposing, we wouldn't approve you going back to what's existing. So happy to support it.
There you go. Okay, so Cecilia's moved it. You've seconded, John. I'm going to call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Thank you very much. Wayne, anything new?
No new business, Mr. Chair.
Anyone move adjournment?
So do you need to set next date?
Move. Oh.
September 30.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Cheers.
Bye.